This video essay was originally for media assignment called MED SAC Task Video Essay Media SAC. This is the condensed version, as the first version delved too deep into the plot, so I had to rewrite major parts of it. The second half has much more enthusiasm than the first half, and that is mainly because I am far more experienced with S.T.A.L.K.E.R the game rather than the movie or the book. I enjoyed making this video essay, though I feel as if it did take a toll on me. What you are about to see is my first major video essay. There are no animations or drawings, just me, some gameplay footage, and a script. Enjoy. On the 26th of April, 1986, reactor number 4 on the Chernobyl nuclear power plant failed its turbine safety test and subsequently exploded, near the city of Pripyat in northern Ukraine, which was a part of the Soviet Union at the time. One of the two nuclear accidents to grace this world, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster was one of the worst nuclear accidents in the world. A record 500,000 and more personnel were involved in the cleanup, and an estimated 18 billion rubles, roughly $68 billion in 2019's money, was spent cleaning up the disaster. Around 350,000 people were evacuated, and the fallout affected everybody, from the Sami tribes in Sweden and Norway to the big heads in Moscow, to the layperson living in Western democracy. But first we have to go back to 1972, to a little book called Roadside Picnic. Roadside Picnic, published in 1972, is set in the aftermath of an extraterrestrial event called the Visitation that took place in several locations around the Earth over a 2-day period. The local population never saw these visitors or how they arrived and departed. All we have now are the remains of their roadside picnic. God damn it. The zones exhibit strange and dangerous phenomena not understood by humans and contain artifacts with unknown and dangerous properties. In a post-visitation world, there are now 6 zones known to man. Governments attempt to build a border while stalkers try to bring them down. But by the end of the book, the zone has claimed just another soul. The film, made in 1979, was directed by Andrei Tarkovsky, and the screenplay was written by Arkady and Boris Chukatzy. The film follows the journey of 3 men, Stalker, Rider, and Professor, into their journey into the zone, where there supposedly exists a room in the middle of the zone which grants a person's innermost desires. The first cut of the film had its film stock turn out to be completely unusable, so it had to be entirely reshot. It was finally released by Goskino in May 1979 to originally mixed audiences, but it was reassessed as one of the greatest films of all time. Now the film says it's a science fiction movie, but it's more akin to deep introspection into the philosophical, psychological, and theological workings of man. The film had to deal with a limited budget of 1 million rubles, and it shows. Instead of conveying the nature and science fiction elements of the zone with visual effects, the characters avoid the various trappings of the zone by purposely choosing a path around these dangers, making use of limited effects and the environment, which conveys the idea well enough. An example of the film making use of its limited budget was when the writer approaches an abandoned building. They use a silhouette of an entity to convey the zone, subtly warning the writer of veering off the correct path. Or in an earlier journey into the tunnels with rushing water, Ryder and Stalker loop back around to Professor having tea, keeping them together. Tarkovsky makes a lot of use of his limitations in production. A lot of Andrei Tarkovsky's works, and I mean a lot of his works, delve deep into the machinations of the human mind. Some of the plots of his movies are unfocused or in non-chronological order, and they often use dreams or dreamlike states. Those who deal with death in some cases, such as Mirror and the Return of Loved Ones, or in Ivan's childhood with the main character, a child, surrounded by the death of World War II. Stalker features a lot of these aspects of Tarkovsky's style. The debates of human nature, especially humans and their greed and desires, take center stage in the film. When the characters rest, Stalker has these dreamlike sequences when he rests that quotes the Bible or some holy text, and the film is fraught with death, the death of ego, characters, people, and the mortal dangers posed by the zone. Ultimately, Tarkovsky engages his audiences through his distinct style of deep introspection and reflection by using genres of science fiction to place the characters in the zone and a narrative that forces the viewers and the characters to ask if they even want to see the center of the zone. The game, after spending its time in development hell, was finally released in 2007. The game follows the Marked One, who's on a one-way mission to kill S.T.A.L.K.E.R, a well-known stalker whose previous expeditions into the Chernobyl nuclear power plant had caused several dangerous emissions to ring out into the zone. The Marked One goes around the zone doing jobs and quests until it is told to him that he is S.T.A.L.K.E.R, and the game begins to change. the north of the zone is opened up, and everyone big and small attempts to find a path into the heart of the zone. To the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. To the Wish Granter. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is a video game, so it is at this point where the narrative branches off. This is one of the strengths of video games. More often than not, it is meaningless, but sometimes you have a choice. In Undertale, it's kill or be killed. In New Vegas, you side with NCR, Legion, House, or Yes Man, and in S.T.A.L.K.E.R, you can succumb to the allure of the zone, or you can peel back the curtain and confront what's really going on. The Wish Granter, the room is a facade. The sea consciousness, the brains behind the zone admits this, and here you have a choice. You can join them, or you can kill them. The ending is there, but you have to work for it. You have to pay attention to the story, you have to find all the clues. It is, in a way, a nod to the old Tarkovsky film, in how the characters never enter the room, how Strelok never enters the Wish Granter, about how the trio returns to the bar cafe, about how Strelok leaves the zone. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is described as a first-person shooter survival horror with RPG elements. The game world I would describe is open world. There are stages you can enter and leave, and the world is populated with factions and clans. There's an AI decision-making system, A-Life, where the AI will make proactive decisions independent of the player. I had an experience where I watched the AI take part in a military raid against another faction, killing everyone inside and then taking the base for its own. In another save, I had a group of allied bandits come along to attack this facility with me independently, and then I threw a grenade, blew up a soldier and my leg, so I reloaded the save and they minded their own business, leaving me to capture the facility myself. It's this emergent gameplay that stays with you forever, giving you plenty of stories to tell. The shooting part of first-person shooter is fine, good even. I enjoy the 2000s era recoil. The resource management of taking care of yourself and making sure you don't die is essential to the experience. But I think what flavors the experience is the horror of the zone. My heart palpitates when I go for an expedition. You have anomalies forcing you to watch every step you take. You have humanoid mutants which melt your mind. And you have to deal with the fact that the zone is a horrible place, filled with horrible humans who do horrible things to each other. For money, for ideology, for personal gain. One of the strongest things about S.T.A.L.K.E.R has always been the atmosphere. The style. Every location is decrepit in some way, from the army warehouses and sports center to the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. But it's not just the locations of the zone that hammers home the aesthetic. It's the people you meet around the campfire, telling stories, sharing information. There's a certain camaraderie found in S.T.A.L.K.E.R. You and everyone you meet is stuck in this hellhole. For most of us, we're here by our choices, and we'll die here by our choices. The feeling of apocalypse is strong in games like these. DayZ, Escape from Tarkov, Metro, all these games have an atmosphere of despair, but S.T.A.L.K.E.R to me seems to do the job best. Everything fits together perfectly for the start. The gameplay has you claw for every victory. It forces you to scrounge for resources, jockey for jobs. The A-Life system keeps the zone alive, kicking and screaming. The map is wide and varied, urban environments and disparate wildlands. The story, lore and engrossing makes you research every faction, every lab, every location. It makes you think of all the other stories you've experienced, and of course, the stories you started yourself. Overall, DSC Game World engages the player with a narrative that rewards the player for digging deeper. Its genre and gameplay mesh well together and gives a fair and challenging experience for those that play it. And its style, it's the style that embodies the Eastern European propensity for tragedy and horror, and the future we find ourselves in today. Colonel Yuri, over and out.